do A, do they want to do B, or do C? Or if everybody has to do A, to what degree do they do A? Can they do it to a certain degree in order to pass, and a further degree in order to get a higher grade, and a further degree in order to get, wow, super, excellent. So give the students a choice in what to work with, what topic to choose, and or how hard that they need to work or want to work. And when students make a choice and they see the relevance and understand the purpose, the students begin to take ownership, especially after they've made a choice. Then it's on them. It's not you just gave them this, oh, well, you gave me that and you told me to do that. I wasn't interested in it. But no, once they make a choice, they take the ownership. And once a student takes the ownership of something, learning almost becomes second nature. They become much more engaged with it. So purpose, relevance, student choice, and ownership are all important. So in your structure, lessons need to have clear structure that includes clear objectives. Students need to know what they're supposed to do and how they're supposed to do it, when they're supposed to do it. They have to have a clear purpose. What is the reason for doing this for them? And they need clear directions, especially online, because they can't just run up to you and say, oh, teacher, I don't understand this. They can, if you're online, they can raise their hand, or in the question and answer box, they could ask a question. But otherwise, your directions need to be a lot more clear when you're performing things online through this model, rather than in the classroom. Because again, you can't see their faces, you can't see their body language, you can't walk around and look at them as they're working sometimes. And so you really don't know much. So you need to make sure your directions are very clear, the purpose is clear, and the objectives are clear. And the mode of work needs to be also made very clear. Do they need to work alone, or is it okay if they collaborate? And they, after this, when they're working, can they go on WhatsApp and work with a friend or two or three friends and come up together and then produce something that is their own work or a group work? Okay, so the mode of work needs to be clear. The assessment criteria needs to be clear, and it needs to be clear at the beginning of the project, not only at the end. The students need to know how are they going to be assessed in what they are doing. This is crucial. This is really important, and we're going to talk about it again later. So, also, students need a clear list of the resources and the links that you want them to work with and to work from in order to carry out what they're doing. So you need to have this clear structure. Shared learning gives students an opportunity to engage in discussion, take responsibility for their own learning, and thus become critical thinker. A lot more learning happens in group work than it does in students working alone. And this is a fact understood by educational research. So shared learning gives students an opportunity to engage. Get them to engage whenever they're doing homework for English. Get them to promise you to engage in bahasa Inggris, not bahasa Indonesia or any other language. But if you're studying English, engage in English as much as possible. Take responsibility for their own learning and become critical thinkers. So, there are different types of things that you can give your students to do. So we want to look at the differences between an exercise, task, and project. So exercises, These are what most teachers do because they're simple, they're easy to grade, they're easy to create, they're easy to hand out. Students can do them. So exercises, they're simple or complex manipulation of elements. There's no creativity or authentic communication. It's either simple answer, yes, no, or it's changing forms from simple present singular to simple present plural, or something like that. Things that don't really, it's just manipulation. It's not really actually communication. So no creativity or authentic communication is involved. Exercises are good. They're good for developing a foundation, but they should be kept to a minimum because exercises don't lead to very strong literacy in English. So most of the work that you could give them or should give them would be through tasks. Tasks are a process where they have to use critical thinking skills to complete an activity, either individually or in a group, either way. The task is meaning focused. It employs authentic communication and creativity. They have to develop something. They read something. They have to tell you, you ask them, okay, I want you to read this chapter in this story, and then I want you to summarize it for me, and then tell me how it made you feel. So there are 3 steps there. Read and summarize, read and respond. So there are different tasks. You can build something. It's going to ask them to find a piece of information, write about it, and then share that. So there are different things that you can do with tasks. The task employs authentic communication, meaning their words in their way, and creativity. Authentic communication and creativity. So these are really good things to do, especially in the online learning situation. And projects are really a series of tasks. Projects are a series of tasks that select and define elements in a process. It's a process. Over time, a project can take an hour. It can take the whole term, the whole term of the class. You decide. You could probably within a class you might have two different projects or 3 different projects within the time period of a class. Okay, and again, it uses authentic communication and creativity, just as the task does. So, exercises are good, but they should be held to a minimum. Tasks are what the majority of the things that you will be doing or asking your students to do, and projects also minimum, but solid projects, which are a series of tasks, are really great things for students to do, especially in the online situation. Differentiation. The tasks and projects should be designed for differentiated learning groups so that students can work at their level of ability and push themselves to learn more. Some students are further than other students in their knowledge and their ability. Challenge them to do more. Everybody's doing the same project or the same task, but have those with a stronger ability to do more. Ask them more questions or ask them to produce a little bit more different. Okay? It doesn't mean they're necessarily going to get a better grade, but it means that you're pushing them to do more, to do different things. And rubrics given at the beginning of a task or a project will aid the students in assessing themselves as they work and will help them to push themselves to the next level. So now we're going to talk about this very important thing of assessment and rubrics. But Under the structure, assessment criteria should be clear and upfront, so students know what is expected of them and they can self-evaluate as they work. So if I know that it's important for me to use transition words in my document that I'm writing for you, in my essay that I'm writing for you, that you're really focusing on transition words, you're focusing on the three segments of the composition, so the opening, the introduction, the body, and the conclusion, that I have to have those very clear, understood, and that for every item in there, I need to have at least one or more supporting sentence. So I know what the assessment is, criteria is, so as I'm writing, I try to put all those things in as much as I can, and I can keep evaluating myself as I read through it because I know what the criteria are. So rubrics are the best method for activities beyond fill in the blank and simple manipulation activities. An assessment, I'll give you an example of a rubric in just a moment if you've never seen them or have never worked with them before. Assessment should provide the learner with an understanding of what they need to do to improve or to learn more. That's what an assessment does. It gives an understanding of what they need to do to improve or to learn more. Assessment should not be used as a punishment. Assessment should only be used as a stimulus, as a learning tool, not as a punishment for your students. If you feel like you need to punish your students, do it in a different way, but don't do it through assessment. Assessment is a learning tool, and use it that way. Okay? So here's the basic form of a rubric. A rubric, you have the characteristic that you're looking at, or the criteria that you're looking at, and then you describe what it is. If you want to get at least 1 point, what do you have to have in order to get at least 1 point? What does it have to look like in order to get 2 points? What does it have to look at to get very good, or 3 points? And for each criteria that you have, or characteristic that you have, you explain in the rubric what it is. That way the student can go through it afterwards and decide, oh yeah, my document has this, or my work has this. Oh yes, I'm doing this right. Yes, I'm doing this way. Here's an example. This was an example that Saiful gave to me. It's a book review project. So you're rating, so a super job, or a very good job, or needs work. You'll get circled what you have based on these things. So title and author, that's very important. So does your book report include the title and the author? Or does it only include the title or just the author, but not both? Or does it not even include the title or the author? I read this book. It was a fun book. You go on talking about the book, but you never give the title of the author. Wow, you're over here in this section. Okay? So, a grabber. Do you have a grabber that makes you want to read the book? Oh, I just read this fantastic, inspiring book that I think would inspire anybody in our class who reads it. So you have an attention grabber. Or is it confusing reading at the beginning sentence? So your rubric has these things in it to help your students understand what they need to include or not include. They can choose how much they want to work, how well they want to work. It's their choice. Do they only want to get very good? Well, then this is what it takes to get very good. But if they really want to get a super job, this is what it takes to get a super job. So rubrics are extraordinary, useful tools but they must be presented at the beginning of the task as part of the direction, not only at the end of the task. So, okay, so we're going guidance and monitoring very quickly, okay? Your students and you're monitoring their work, you should not be overbearing. Don't be sitting there telling them exactly what to do, how to write it. Oh no, that's not good. Oh, maybe you want to do. Let them do the work. Let them do the work. Just look at it to make sure that they're following the rules and understand. You should only provide clarification and correction if it is understood that the student lacks the necessary understanding to complete the task, or they're really getting off track. Okay? Oh, you're getting too far off the topic. Go back. Okay? So that could be one thing, but only if it is understood that. You should not interfere with the student's creativity. Let them be creative. That's part of learning the fluency of the language and building their own literacy within this language. Being creative, letting them say what they want to say, how they want to say it. So it doesn't have to be your words. Let them find other words to say the same thing that you want them to say, or that you wish they would say, or that would be interesting to read, or whatever. So it's not about your words or whatever. The right answer is, did they get all the information in? Did they get the information correct? Did they get the information in the right order? That's what's important. And then you look at, oh, well, they said this very creatively, but it works. They've got all the points. Good. So, and the monitoring can be done in several ways. You can monitor and guide your students individually. You can do it in small groups, or you can do it as a class. So you can decide how you want to do it. What is the effective, not efficient, but effective way to do that. And it can be done in writing, via email, via correction notes on a submitted document. So they send you a document, you make your notes on it, you send it back to them. If to a whole group, it can be done in a blog talking about general issues rather than specific student issues. So in a blog, you can say, okay, I noticed in this last assignment that a lot of you have trouble with transition words. So let's take a quick moment to think about how to use transition words effectively and what kinds of transition words are most useful. So you can do that as a way of looking after you've looked at the whole group and all of their work, and getting back to talking about general rather than student-specific issues. It can be done in a video chat with an individual student or a group of students. So you can do it on WhatsApp video chat, or Viber video chat, or Skype video chat. Anyway, it can be done in a phone call with an individual student, or a conference call with several students. Or it can be done in an online discussion group. And in an online discussion group, it doesn't even have to have audio or video. It can be everybody in a chat, writing in a chat group. So guidance and monitoring can be done several ways, but make sure it's being done well, but not overburdened. Okay. We're going to quickly look at a social framework, and then I think we're going to go to our next poll. So in social framework, social, you understand that. People getting together, working together. And that's really important. It is important for students to build collaboration skills. And collaborating, because we know that learning in a group sometimes is better. Peer-to-peer teaching, peer-to-peer editing, peer-to-peer work helps a lot with students. And When one student gets it, they can tell the others how they got it, and sometimes that's better than you trying to explain it to them. Okay, so collaborating, helping, sharing, supporting, entertaining, socializing, and sympathizing, these are all things that happen in a regular classroom that make a classroom so dynamic. You collaborate, you help, you share, you support, you entertain, you tell jokes. Yeah, you socialize, you pat each other on the back, you sympathize. Oh, these all can happen online as well. If you have chat boxes, if you have video conferencing where everybody's talking. Not in this particular webinar. It's a little more difficult to do all of that, but we do some. So students and you can do all these using different apps in the platform you create. You can use WhatsApp, Skype, Viber, phones, and other chat apps can be used for texting, video chats, and audio chats. So you can do that. You can use to share documents and to share things, to share work. You can use Dropbox or Google Docs or other such apps for sharing documents, videos, charts, graphs, everything. So there's a lot of sharing and collaboration. And you all know about Facebook and Twitter. Facebook, as I mentioned earlier, where you can post work, you can post things, you can do things on Facebook as well. So these things are all really, really important and key for you. So incentives and recognition. Incentives and recognition are really key towards keeping students engaged, keeping them interested. So there are 3 basic levels of recognition: individual or group students or teams of students or classes. You can even have things with classes competing with each other or working with each other or sharing with each other, or it can even be institutional. The forms of recognition can be anything from grades to scores to remarks. Okay, grades is very traditional, scores very traditional, remarks many teachers only give sporadically because they feel it takes a lot of time. But remarks are really good, especially in giving students a pat on the back, especially during this online learning. A remark from a teacher going, "Great work, I really enjoyed reading this. Oh, I see so much improvement." Yes, those kinds of remarks, wow, really make somebody feel good, really make somebody feel, okay, I want to keep trying, I want to keep doing more. So more than grades and scores, remarks are probably more inspirational and give more incentive to students. Let me go back. Posting and sharing project work and reports through document, video, blog, audio. So a lot of students, I find that when I was teaching students how to write articles, students, they did so until they realized that I was going to put their article in a class newsletter and I was going to circulate that newsletter throughout the school. Suddenly, everybody was really working hard to do articles, to write really good articles because they wanted their article in the newsletter. Not all articles would get in. So they had to really work hard, and people like to post their work, to share their work. As parents, many of you, your student brings something home from school that's great. Wow, you put it up on the refrigerator. Yay! Look, look what Ade did. Look what Indra did. And the whole family comes up and goes, "Oh, nice picture, Indra. Nice. Oh, that's a nice essay, Ade." So when you post and share work, that's also an incentive, and it's a great form of recognition. But another form that's really becoming very, very, very accepted and very, very important now throughout the world, not just in what we're asking you to do now, is this concept of badges. Badges. I don't know if any of you were ever a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout or an Indian Guide, or even military have badges. Badges that they wear on their chests or on a sash, or badges that they can, a trophy is a sort of a badge. There are different kinds of badges and things. A badge is one way of recognition. Wow, people show how many badges they have. Wow, I have 5 badges. Somebody else goes, oh, I only have 2. How did you get all those? So they're an incentive to want to get more, and they're a great recognition. And there are some really great online things for doing badges. You can create your own badges, create your own, do little pictures or whatever, or you can go to sites like Raccoon Gang and learn the basics of digital badges for education. They will give you links and platforms for how to create badges, how and when to issue badges, and even give you ideas for badge portfolio references. These are really great things. Badges are now a very hot topic in international education. And if badges become really meaningful, they go into a portfolio, your student's portfolio. So right now, let's stop. I'm going to give this back to Ibu Dini, and we're going to look at the second polling. Do you assign students in groups during online class and learning? Do you use rubrics, or do you use badges? So,
Okay, so now I have launched the second poll. Can you all see that?
Hold on.
Or perhaps you can make me a presenter again?
Yeah, hold on a second. Oops.
Okay, I'll give you again like 2 minutes to answer this poll. And if you have question and answer, you don't have to wait until the end of the time. I mean, you can actually start questioning, put your questions on the Q&A box or chat box. We will be choosing the best 8 participants who have great questions to get 5 TOEIC updated preparation books and also free English Discoveries account. So good luck all teachers. I hope you have great questions that we can answer.
Okay. Again, do you assign students in groups during any online class learning? Yes or no? Do you use rubrics when you give your students any project or task? Yes or no? Do you use badges to recognize students' performance? Yes or no? And then submit your answer.
Okay, 2 minutes already. I'm closing the poll.
And show all of us.
Yeah, it's closing. I will show the results soon.
It's like Christmas. I want to open up real quick.
So, can you see the results?
Wow. 65% do not do groups. 65% do not do groups. 57% don't use rubrics. Wow. Well, hopefully we're giving you something new to think about and something new to try and do with your students. Okay? Using rubrics, using badges. These are really crucial things, especially when you can't be there as you are in a classroom to give them as much direction and as much support as you normally would. So these are very key, crucial things, tools, I believe, that will help you. Okay, Dini, you want to give me back the...
Sure. Um, okay.
Okay, so again, we really think that you should be doing more assigning students to work in groups. Get them to work in groups. They can do it in WhatsApp, they can do it in Skype, they can do it in Viber, they can do it in many different formats, in many different ways. And we also want you to use, I suggest that you consider using rubrics, or at least letting students know ahead of time what is the assessment criteria exactly for any task or project that you ask them to do. And consider using badges, especially from the distance now, to recognize students. And on the class Facebook page, you can put up the students' badges. Oh, who got this badge? Who got a badge for this? Who got a badge? Students can start competing with each other for badges. So that's good. Another thing that's important is now, not only in education, but also in terms of HR resources, people are talking about portfolios. Portfolios are really important today. Important. One, let me just talk about the HR person. If you're going for a job today, and I know because I've been talking to a lot of HR experts and professionals, rather than just a resume, they would almost prefer that the person come in with a portfolio. Why? Because a portfolio gives them so much more information than a resume would. A portfolio will have their standardized test scores, if any are needed. They will have, so if you're applying for a job as a secretary, for example, you should have Microsoft Office certification. Those who have that certification will be lifted up first. So they need to see that certification, not just have you listed on a resume. So the portfolio should have a resume, it should have the certifications, it should have copies of scores, and it could even have examples of comments about your work if you did an internship. You know, how were you rated during that internship, and different things that you could do. So HR people are looking for these things today. In schools, giving somebody a portfolio really helps you to get a better sense of overall both you and the student's sponsor or parents get a real good sense of what the student has accomplished within a class. So they're a testament to the student's hard work over time. They measure a student's growth of improvement over a period of time. So you can look at a portfolio. What goes in the portfolio is the student's best work, their scores, different things. So you help a student to organize the work. They usually organize in, it could be organized in sections, according to tests, according to turned in work, according to project work, and then they're organized according to date or whatever, chronologically. They are collections of a student's best work, the comprehensive overview of a student's achievement. You may have failed a test, you don't put that in there. You got 100 on another test, you put that in there. So you put in the best work. You got an A on this document, you got a D on this document, you put in the A document. You show the comprehensive overview of the student's achievement, how they are growing in the class. It can be used for one or more skills or subjects. And the contents can be documents, essays, reports, journals, pictures, graphs, videos, test scores, standardized in class scores, tests. And each item should have a reflection from the student. So every item that's in there has with it, appended to it, a reflection from the student about this. Why is this important? Why is it in the portfolio? Okay. And you as a teacher, you can assess the portfolio on its organization, its completeness, its reflection of the student, and the overall quality and growth of the student. Portfolios really help you to get a composite view of a student and make it so much easier for giving, at the end of the class, a true assessment of the student, and you have the portfolio. So I'm recommending that you start now working with portfolios, because portfolios are now becoming a fact of life, not only in schools, but also in terms of work. Okay, so now let's look at different activity types. Okay, there are different types of things that you can do. Listening. You can have your students listen to all kinds of things, and you can have what they're listening to, you can have them listen to something that has something to do with grammar, music, with grammar, or listening to music for vocabulary, or listening to music for ideas and things, or whatever. Have them listening to podcasts, or just you as a teacher. So they can take and share notes from what they're listening to. They can share their opinions on what they've listened to. They can share summaries of what they've listened to. So there are all kinds of things that you can do with listening, and all kinds of options out there for things for them to listen to. And that's what makes online learning so vibrant, so exciting, is because you can listen to more than just the teacher. And you can actually have them listen to things that you normally couldn't bring into the classroom, because you don't have the microphone, you don't have the time, or you don't have the bandwidth or something to do it in the classroom, but you can have them do it outside on their own, listen to it, and then they can share notes, share opinions, share summaries, whatever you want them to do with it. They can even create their own. Reading. Reading is so exciting, because you can have them do all kinds of readings while they're doing it. You can give them readings to do. And I suggest to them, and I would suggest that you actually have them do this too, is to be active readers. Too many students don't read actively, or they read, but they're reading word by word by word. And it's kind of going in one ear and out the other, or in one eye and out the other, or however you want to look at that. But I suggest that while a student is reading, they underline what is interesting to them. So as they're reading, and I do this when I'm reading articles, I underline what's interesting to me. I circle things that I want to remember. I circle them. And I put a question mark over things that I don't understand, or I have a question about. And hopefully, as I go along, if that question is answered later, I go back and I put a line through that question mark. At the end of the reading, I can go back and look at all the question marks that do not have a line through them, and then I need to go do some research somewhere to find the answers to those questions. And I have a quick look at what is interesting, and I've circled what I want to remember, so I can go back and make sure I'm remembering those things. So I can discuss or report on what I marked, what I found the answers to the questions that the reading did not answer. I can share all those things. It's easier for me than to go back and write a summary or write a response to a reading if I've actually engaged with the reading in that physical way. So I suggest that when you give your students something to read, you ask them to do that, and maybe even ask them to share with you what they underlined, what they circled, and what they questioned. Speaking. Give an oral report, do a role play, read a short story or an excerpt, participate in a discussion. You can do all of this online. They can do it in the class with you, or they can do it and do a short video with a colleague and then share that with you, and then you can talk about it with them. And if it's good enough, you share it with the whole class. So there's all kinds of things you can do, live or recorded, using apps like YouTube or WhatsApp or other types of apps. In writing, you can ask students to write about things that matter to them. Again, making language personal, making language about them, making learning about them. You can have them, instead of asking them to write something, and all students, when you ask them to write something and you don't give them the audience, they write it too. Change the audience. Have them write something that is for a blind person, or write something that that is to their parents or to another class or somewhere. But change the audience. Have them write in different genre as well. Have them write something in email, then change that email to a quick Twitter feed, or make it into an essay, or make it into a story or an article. All of this can be done in MS Word or a similar program, or you can do peer correction before the teacher. Have the students do peer correction before the teacher looks at it. They can only do peer correction and then the criteria ahead of time, a rubric or something, so they know what it is. Post it in final draft, put it into their portfolios. So all of these things you can still do, but you can make it. You actually have a way of making all of this so much more dynamic in online teaching than many of you could actually do in the classroom. And that's exciting. So, project work. This can be done for individual or group work. You can have videos, you can have written descriptions on how to do something. You can develop a survey, have them do the survey, report on the outcomes with comments. For example, have them write up a survey and then survey their family, survey their friends. The surveys can be given online through SurveyMonkey. They can get lots of people, come back, report on the outcomes, and make a comment or conclusion. So you can use many different apps and forms for completing the work. Presentation could be written in a written report or presentation. You can even have them do posters. Posters are so exciting. Have them create posters and share those on your Facebook page, your class Facebook page. They can do a demonstration in a live class where you're meeting with them, like now, the webinar, or they could do it in a video things. So there's so much that you can do with the students that's really exciting and can motivate them and keep them engaged even more than there are in most regular classrooms. So there are multiple forms of representation. So there are ways of exploring information, having students look for information, find information, and then be able to give you back what they understood, what they think, what they see, what they question. Okay, so you can use images, infographics, memes, regular graphics, photos, cartoons. I'll give you an example of a cartoon later. Comics, cartoons, similar. Infographics, cartoons, comics, very similar in what they are. You can do audio, having students listen to podcasts, listen to audio recordings. Many students might have Audible already. They can listen to Audible. They can listen to sound bites. SoundSite is another type of thing that they can do. So things like this that are linked to, you'll be getting a link page, a page of links later. Ibudini will explain that to you. Videos. You can do live action videos, animation, documentary. You can have YouTube, students doing YouTube or whatever. Animation types of things, if you have Doodly or Toonly or one of those, you can create some very interesting animations for your students to watch, to listen to, and to work on. I was going to do that for this, but decided not to. We can do a whole workshop on using those types of tools if you want. Multimodal tools such as ebooks, interactive timelines, storytelling tools. These are all great things that you can have, and you'll get the links to these after this. You get the links to these. So there's multiple means of representation in which you can get your students to find information, hear information, see information, understand information, and be able to do tasks or projects based on what they see, hear, read, do. So other multiple means of representation, ways of exploring information. Oh, virtual tours. Oh my gosh, there are so many wonderful virtual tours out there. Now, there are 900 Google Tour expeditions that you can take. Oh, these are just lots of fun. Discovery Education has some. We Are Teachers, commonsense.org. Every major museum in the world, the British Museum, the Smithsonian, Prada in Spain, all of these museums have virtual tours, and they're wonderful. You can take students on different kinds of virtual tours, or have them take the virtual tour, and then respond back to you. What did they see? What did they find interesting? What was great? There's so much out there. Augmented reality, that's a whole lesson in itself, and it's a lot of fun. You'll get the link. You can learn more about augmented reality there. So digital 3D models of things, the Smithsonian 3XD, NIH 3D models, Thingiverse, and others will help you with understanding 3D digital models, looking at the video off to the right over here, 3D models. And also for reading text, things like the Microsoft Immersive Reader. These are all things that are out there for you to use. There's so many tools to work with and to actually play around with your students. They will enjoy it, I'm sure. So here's an example of an activity. Okay, so I chose Mother's Day because in the month of May in the U.S. we are celebrating Mother's Day, so that's our next big holiday after today being Easter Sunday for us. I would start out by explaining to them how to create a card, a greeting card. So we're talking about a card. So I would have them, I would show them how to fold the paper so that they're able to create, and do this right, so that they are able to create a greeting card by folding the paper so that they have a card. So there's front, inside one, inside two, and back. So they are using the card that they were instructed to make. I asked them in their group, this is a group project, come up with a definition of what a mother is and write it on the card in the appropriate space. For them, that would be on the front of the card. So they write on the front of the card. After the group comes up with the definition, then each one is doing their own card. Each member of the group on their own individual card would write a definition of what a mother is. And I found that this is very interesting. They all come up with very interesting definitions of what mother is. And when I've had groups of all guys and groups of all girls, the guys come up with totally different version of what a mother is than what the girls come up with. And the mixed groups and girls come up with even a more different version of what a mother is, a definition. So it's really interesting. So then I have them listen to the song Mama by Il Divo. Okay, So I don't know if I can do this. Hopefully this will work.
Hi, I'm Rex Moore with the Motley Fool in front of BMW's self-driving exhibit at CES in Los Angeles.
Okay, we're going to skip this.
It's called Mama. Mama, thank you for who I am. Thank you for all the things forgive me for the words unsaid, for the times I forgot.
Okay, so listening to the song Mama, okay, they get a sense of things to ask Mama about or to talk about. So in their group, after they listen to Mama, I want them on their card. I want them to list 3 things they want to thank their mother for, because in the song it says, "Thank you for this, thank you for that." So I want them to think of 3 things they want to thank their mother for. I write that on the card in the appropriate space, which is on from the cover. It's on the first page of the inside. First page of the inside. Okay. Then I want them in their group to list 3 things you want to ask your mother to forgive you for. Like he said, forgive me for all the times I forgot, right? List 3 things to forgive your mother, you want your mother to forgive you for, and write them on the card on page 2 of the card. Then that's your card. The opening is the definition of mom. Inside first page is 3 things you want to thank your mom for, 3 things you want your mom to forgive you for. And then I ask them to decorate the card and then show it to the whole group, and that is their Mother's Day card. So the assessment criteria for this definition of mother is clear, well stated, with no grammar errors. The 3 statements of thank you are clear, well stated, no grammar errors. The 3 requests for forgiveness are clear, no grammar errors. The card design shows thought, care, and is well organized. It's a fun thing to do. Try it. You get a lot of interesting and fun things, and mothers get really great Mother's Day cards out of it. Song Mama is a really nice song. I just saw somebody wrote that up there. And I chose one in which which there are subtitles. So I chose the one, I went to YouTube. You'll get the link for that in the link page if you get the links. Okay, so elements to promote language learning, the 5 freedoms. The freedom to explore and question. Your students need that freedom to explore the content, to question what the content is saying, to question what you are saying, to what they're trying to do, what they're doing, to explore and to question, to ask questions. They need the ability to experiment, to just try and get out there, to walk up to me and say, "Hey, bro, what's going?" And for me to look at them and say, "Okay," and then they learn from it. They'll learn from it. Just get out there and experiment with the language. Experiment with you. Experiment with each other. Don't worry about making mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. You learn from them. Just keep trying and learning from your mistakes. Keep experimenting. Keep exploring and questioning. And eventually, also, you'll start using this language to identify yourself. You can use it to tell who you are, what you are thinking, what you are feeling. And when you begin to identify with the language, it starts to become part of you. And then you know you're really learning English. And therefore, you're going to start really putting in the effort and the effort to keep trying and trying and trying. So these are the 5 freedoms of language. You have to give all of these freedoms to your students. So in teaching and learning, I told you I do a comic. Here's a quick comic. If you ever see me present, I always have this particular cartoon with me. So you will see that here there are 2 boys and a dog. And the one boy says, I taught Stripe how to whistle. You know, whistle? So the one boy leans down and says, I don't hear him whistling. And the other boy says, I said I taught him. I didn't say he learned it. Well, don't let this be your class. It's not about you teaching. It's about the students learning. So please keep in mind, it's about learning, not about teaching. So with that, I want to turn this back over to Deanie and say thank you. And hopefully, I've helped you to build a little bit of a confidence. So,
Okay, thank you, Damon, for the presentation. I think now we have some questions related to the your presentation, but I think we will go to Muhafil first before we do the Q&A. Is it okay?
good for me. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Fadiman. Muhafil, um, your turn now before the Q&A.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Dini, can you hear me? So if you can hear me, everyone can hear me.
We can hear you, Bu.
Okay, good. Thank you. Can I share my screen?
Fadiman, can you make Ibu Hafilia the presenter, please?
Thank you, Damon. Okay. Right. Okay, so everyone, all right. Well, we're just going to, my job here today is to remind you that we have some coming up sessions. Yeah, we have coming up sessions for next week, the week after next week, and 2 weeks from now. I think I saw here while I was listening, like all of you, I saw some of you asking the question, is this like the only session? No, this is not the only session for the English series. Okay, so the English series will consist of, the English series will consist of actually 4 sessions. The first session is the one that you just, that we are all attending now with Damon. And then next week, okay, every Monday in the 3 weeks to come, so we have the 20th of April, the 27th of April, and the 4th of May, every Monday. We are also having, okay, we're going to have sessions 2, 3, 4, and they are for job essentials. The theme is job essentials. These sessions, okay, take on the titling, writing professional resume, getting a job through successful interviews, and keeping up with your English at the workplace. Now, the sessions 2 and 4 are for students, for your students, but of course, you are most welcome to join. So we would like you to also spread the word for your students, because we think that for the vocational students, it is their goal, right, once they finish their SMK, their vocational school, to get a job right away. So we feel that these are the job essentials: writing resume, getting a job through successful interviews, and keeping up with the English at the workplace are the most important skills that your students will be needing. All right. The presenters will be, or the facilitators will be myself. And here you have a photo of Rudy Sulistiawan. Will also be taking a role as being your facilitator. Okay, so stay tuned. Now, just to give you an overall idea what we are going to give for your students and for you if you decide to join also. First of all, why the red resume and why CV builder? I think we're going to start with next week. What is the difference between a resume and a CV builder? Anyone knows? Okay, we're just going to start that. That's just a teaser for you, yeah? Okay, and one of the things that we're also going to study is which of the following information do you want to include on your CV? Personal profile, personal details, blah, 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 blah. Okay, we have a list of information there, but then in what order? Yeah, so these are some of the activities that we're going to do with your students, right? And you may, of course, follow it. Now, and we're going to share also, tell your students that what to look for in a resume, all right? According to one of the recruiters, okay, one of the recruiters experts, they say that on average it takes the recruiters 6 seconds, just 6 seconds to decide on an application based on their resume. So it is very important, okay, very important for us to know which part of the resume, right, is something that the recruiters look for. Yeah, so we'll be talking about all this next week. And the week after next week, the session 3, we will be talking about job interviews. And I think Pak Rudy is going to facilitate you with this, facilitate your students, okay? That job seekers typically go to job interviews expecting, of course, what do we expect? The employer to be focused on their experience, education, and skills. Yeah, but then again, surprise, you may be surprised to know that what employers are usually most interested in learning about you isn't even on the job listing. So we're of course going to share this with your students and talk about, of course, in terms of English as a tool for communication, as Pak Damon said. It's not just answering questions during job interviews, but being able to communicate using the language. Yeah? Okay. And this is just an idea, right, for what on our third session, okay, sorry, the fourth session, okay. Now, if you look at keeping up at English at the workplace, it's very, very easy for us if you just Google English at the workplace. You will see, okay, just Google it this morning, about 300, okay, can anyone read that? There's a lot of zero there, yeah. Okay, in 47 seconds, you get these many sites, yeah, for English at the workplace only. Not to mention if we, of course, Google, right, English, all right? Now, so there are lots and lots of materials out there. There are lots and lots of materials out there. Our focus is, though, not just on what materials they can or your students, okay, can access, yeah, but learning how to learn, okay. So, and I think my time is up, right? So please join us, yeah, and please spread the word to your students. How to encourage your students? Spread the word. These are very important for them, right? Okay. Now, so I will see you next week, same time. Thank you, Dini, and thank you all.
Thank you, Ibu Afil. Okay, now we're going to the Q&A session with Pak Damon. So,
Yeah, give Dini the host, the presenter.
Yeah. Hold on.
okay, now so Pak Damon, do you want me to read the question?
And Hafilia can help answer them as well.
Right. Okay.
So
So,
wait, I need to give Dini the hold on, Dean,
okay, Bu.
the presenter now.
Thank you. All right. So we have from Miftahul Hakim to all panelists. The question is what is the effective way to increase their speaking skill if they are separated like this? So speaking skills during the isolation.
Yeah, that's a good question. There are many ways to help students to start speaking. One, you could have them. It depends on the level of student that you're working with. Lower level students, you can have them read out loud. You can have them. You're in a classroom. You're in a classroom with only about 30 students, and so you can have them take turns. You can call on them to read out loud, or you can call on them so they can still speak in a situation like this where they still speak in class. But you can have them doing um, projects or tasks where they record themselves speaking English, speaking with somebody, speaking with one of their classmates or whatever, using Skype or YouTube or WhatsApp or one of these other types of things that they have. So you can still engage them possibly even more than in the classroom, because you can have them doing things with each other where they're having to speak English to each other. Doesn't matter if they rehearse it, but what you want them to begin to work on is that fluency, all of those aspects, fluency and accuracy, um, to work on those things as well. So you can do it in different ways. Just like, well, now Hafilia is going to say something. So instead of Hafilia, it could be a student, another student. Hafilia, do you have any thoughts?
No, not at the moment for this
No.
one.
Okay. So, see, she said something, and that was unique. Okay, good. Next one, Dini.
Okay. The next question um, is from Ibu Enda. Could you please suggest us the easy online media to use for teachers, to design interesting materials?
That's a difficult question. To design material, you already have many of your materials. We're not asking you to do much more different than what you already do in your classroom. And many of you already have your materials. You can scan them into a PDF document and put them up on the screen and talk about them, or you can email them to your students and have your students have the material in front of them as you're working through it, talking about it. So if you're talking about creating new materials, well, it depends on what you want to do. You want to do a task, or do you want to do a project? I gave you several links for doing things like virtual tours, or watching different videos, or the storytelling one for doing storytelling, um, others for reading books, ebooks, different things. So it really depends on what you want to do, what your level of student is. I think I would need a lot more specific information before I could give, I think, a concrete enough examples that will really help you. So just think about, what do you normally do in class? Now you're going to do it online. What can you do to give it to students, to give the same material to the students online, and how can you get them to work with it in a very engaging way? Okay. Does that help? Hafilia, do you have any other thoughts?
Okay. Hello. Yes.
Hello?
Okay. I think the question, or if I can rephrase the question so that we can understand it. better. I think the question was that how can we not really make materials, right? Plan materials using online stuff, but how can we uh, present maybe our material, right? What they might already had, uh, uh,
Okay, so how can you present the material in different ways?
to
Well,
first, yeah, right.
I think there are different ways. For example, one thing that we used today was PowerPoint. You can create PowerPoints, and some of you can create some really creative PowerPoints, or you can have a whiteboard. Many of these programs, like WebEx, Zoom, and some of the others, even Skype, they have whiteboards. So you can write things, and you can do things on a whiteboard. You can present things that way. Others, you can send the students a file and have the students all looking at the same paper at the same time at home. Okay, everybody look at this piece of paper. You can show them and say, okay, everybody have that in front of them, and they're all reading it together. And you can talk about it as you go along. They can be asking questions, making comments. So
SBT dia ano kay? Beli di nga kay? Terus detas tu.
hello?
Saiful?
Okay. So did I answer the question better, do you think, to Hafilia?
Okay, I'm going to like sum up because I'm also reading some of the questions, yeah, and Didi's question also. Number one, yeah, that's right. So we need to be prepared, right? But Damien, we need to be prepared, of course, with whatever platform that we're going to use. You will be needing PowerPoints, like what Damien already did, and I also made some PowerPoints that to make things clear to you. Okay, whatever platform that we're using. Of course, the PowerPoints, I mean, the teaching PowerPoints can also be sent to your students first if they're using email or WhatsApp. Okay, then you, whatever groups that you have, right? So you make sure that you send them through. I think we're going through the flipped learning now, Pademan. So make whatever materials, right? Learning, this is for learning, your presentation in your lesson plan. So you need to give them, you need to give your students that first, right? Let them go over it, study it. Okay. Then the next thing would be, of course, this interaction. You will be needing some kind of interaction. You will be needing some kind of interaction. Okay. Now, what kind of platform do you use? We're using now the WebEx from, of course, the TTE. But if you're thinking of free platforms, you have Zoom, you have the Google, what is that, chats, Google Hangouts, all right? Okay, and there are other platforms also. But of course, if it's free, it will be time limited, right? Now that's the time that you can discuss and do all kinds of this interaction with them, right? Like what we're doing now. And of course, afterwards, you need to give them other activities, like Pademan said. You need to give them links, okay, so that they can do things, right? And then check up on them again. So that's why you need some kind of like Google Classroom. I think most of you know Google Classroom, using Google Classroom, right? So you can give them some assignments, give them PPT, PowerPoint, give them link to a song, whatever, like Pademan has already discussed, on that Google platform classroom. But make sure that you check on them. How to get them motivated? Ask them to submit their work, because I'm using Google Classroom. I ask them to submit their work, give them a time frame, right? Okay, so I think that's for me. Damon, thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Dini.
Right. The next question is from Pak Sofian Kusuma. He is a productive teacher in one of our vocational schools. He's wondering that this semester they have to make something in groups. Students have to be in a group and create a project. But since they are in separated location and the materials are at school, how to solve this? Must I change the target for task?
Well, yeah, the task. Um, yeah, I'm speaking, right? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. The task, what you give them to do, you have to make sure that all the materials to do it, or you give them the links to find the materials online, or as Ibu Hafilia just said, you put all the materials into the Google Classroom, into the area where the students go and get the materials. Yes, the students can't work unless they have the right materials. So you have to make sure that they can get them either through email or links you give them to find it somewhere online, or either on your Google Classroom site or your Facebook page, or wherever they go to get the materials, that's where you put it. And so you make sure that they all have the materials they need to be able to do whatever assignment you give them to do. So yeah, it takes a few extra steps on your part, but yeah. So I don't understand when you say all the materials would be in the classroom. Well, they can't go to the classroom, so you give them the materials. You have to provide the materials to them online. If the materials come from different books, maybe you can find a link to those books online, or whatever, or you come up with another way to find similar materials, that they can use as opposed to the exact same materials that were in the classroom. It's actually easier to do online than it is in the classroom in many respects.
All right. Do you want to add something, Buhafil, or can we go to the next question?
No, go ahead. How are we doing on timing for the question and answer?
Sorry, Bu.
How are we doing on timing for the question and answer session?
Saiful, checking with him. Well, okay. Anyway, well, we have one question related to motivation.
Okay.
It said here that in this situation, it is really difficult to push them in joining, like online training over with any reason. Thanks. How to deal with it?
Well, as I said at the very opening of my thing, motivation is a big issue, and it's also a big issue in your own classroom. Students go to school because they have to go to school. It doesn't mean they want to be there. Well, you want them to get online with you, and it's the same thing. They're there partially because they have to be there, but if they see that you're doing interesting things, you're doing exciting things, you're bringing interesting materials, you're taking them on virtual tours, you're giving them new perspectives, and you're giving them choices and making them make choices about what they want to do and how they want to do it, then they start to take ownership. Then they become more interested and more engaged in doing things. So it's really the type of engagement that you have with them is between you and the students, and you know your students better than I do. You know what they're interested in and what they like. So working with videos, working with songs, working with topics of interest to them, working whatever, you're still covering the curriculum. The curriculum is important. You have to know what it is you want them to learn. What grammar points and issues must you cover with them? What type of vocabulary? must you cover with them? What type of writing, what type of reading, what type, you have to know all of those things. And so materials and the things that you're gathering for them to do have to fit all of those curriculum needs, that come up there. But quite honestly, you can find so many wonderful, interesting things that will be of interest to them. I mean, just that song Mama from Il Divo, I think all the students would love that, and it's not that difficult to understand. Songs are good because lyrics are often repeated so many times that eventually they get the understanding. It's very good. So, yeah, choose material that is going to be not too easy for your students, a little bit challenging, but easy enough for them to be able to get. So, yeah, that's what I have to say about that. Hafilia?
Dan they yeah,
Hafilia is breaking up for me. I don't know. Houdini?
Yeah, she's breaking up here too.
uh,
Okay, Ibudini, maybe we should go on to the next question.
Hello.
Hi, Saiful?
Yes, I just got information from the
Yeah.
Directorate that within the panelists, we already have some participants assigned by the Directorate so they can ask questions directly. So you know about this.
I don't. Maybe Dini does. Okay.
Okay.
Dini's controlling this, so.
Pak Saiful,
Yes.
maksudnya mereka bisa tanya langsung atau bagaimana?
Ya, mungkin salah satunya di sini seperti Pak Syafrundin Mencuhi ya.
Oke, jadi bisa video, maksudnya bisa nanya langsung gitu ya, Pak?
Ya, beberapa orang bisa untuk yang sudah masuk di panelis.
Okay. So there are some participants from the teachers, SMK teachers, I guess, and they are part of the panelists now, Pak Damon, and they will be asked. They will ask the questions directly to you. So we will give the time and what to do. Thank you, Pak. So for all the participants, you can start.
You should call on them one at a time, Dini.
Okay.
Well, the first one is Safrudin.
Okay. I don't think he's here now. Pak Abdul Salam. Pak Abdul Salam, you can try.
Is your microphone on?
Thank you.
Enak saja mama Beb.
Bapak.
Okay, so now I think Ibu Siska Farida is raising her hand. Please, Ibu Siska. Hello?
Okay, we have Musta.
Ibu Mustana. If you have questions, please.
Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
Ibu Mustana, you're breaking up. Putus-putus, Ibu.
Mr.
We can't hear you.
Okay, I don't think Ibu Mustana has a good internet connection right now because we cannot hear her. Perhaps Bapak Osep Yanto?
I am Osep.
Set.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Diamond and Ibu Hafilia.
Morning.
I wrote the question on the question and answer menu, and then my question is how to engage maybe the student and also their parents, yeah, especially in this situation of a pandemic of corona, because we are doing at home to teach and yeah, for the student. I think that's all. Thank you, Mr. Diamond.
Well, nice meeting you. It's a good question. There are several ways you can engage with the students. Number one, doing a lesson like this using like WebEx or Zoom or Skype or something where you have a classroom situation where you can do whiteboard, you can do video, you can do all kinds of things. They can talk like you just asked a question, they could ask questions. So it's a regular class. But if you're wanting to engage them more, you can use Skype or Zoom or YouTube or whatever to connect with them individually or in small groups. You can have small group sessions where you have 2 or 3 students and you're talking with them in a small group. Or you can meet a student and their parents and talk with them about the learning situation, about the technology or whatever. And I would recommend that you could do that with all of your students, if at all possible, at some point to have a meeting with the student and their parents at the same time. And there are times when you can invite the parents and say, it's okay for them to sit in and listen and watch while their student is participating in a class. Though I don't recommend that too often, because students become very self-conscious if their parent is sitting over their shoulders. But from time to time, it's okay for parents to just drop in, not participate, but observe. So, but you can use WhatsApp to meet with a student or a group of students. You can use Viber, you can use Skype, you can use Zoom, you can use many different ways of connecting. If you have Talk Fusion, you can use their video chat service or any others. So, okay, did I answer your question, sir?
Yes, that's interesting. I got the idea. Thank you, Mr. Diamond.
Thank you. Thanks for participating today.
Okay. Thank you, Pak Damon. Now we have Ibu Siska Fahriza. Hello. Okay. Pak Sofian Kusuma, if you want to ask the questions directly. Hello? Okay, we cannot hear Pak Sofian. We can talk to the one from SMK BTB, SMK Tunas Sakti. If you're there. Oh yeah, Pak Sofian.
Halo.
Thank you.
Halo.
Ya, Pak, silakan Pak. Ya, Pak Sofian.
Yeah, hello. Okay, thank you, Mr. Damon and Ibu Hafilia. Your theme today is very good. I'm very interesting, and I write.
Ada mana, Mas?
And you,
Putus suaranya, maaf Pak. Halo Pak.
it is. Hello.
Pak, silakan Pak.
If we turn off our videos and listen to.
I'm able. Ya, mohon maaf terputus. Ya, maaf terus. For guidance for the creativity of we in the place.
Pak Sofian mungkin bisa di chat saja karena putus-putus suaranya.
Cut in the latte mask.
Yeah, I think too many people are trying to talk at once.
Yes. Pak Sofian, I think you can chat directly because we cannot hear you here. All right, Pak Sofian.
Dek, dekat-dekat Bunda, Dek. Suaranya hilang, Dek. Dek. Dekat Bunda sini, Dek.
The activity can be done in several ways to individuals. Oh, Pak Demen, halo? Hello. Pak Demen, Pak Sofian has guidance and monitoring should not interfere with the can be done in several ways. How to solve the
Ini, we have too many people trying to talk at once.
Okay.
So I didn't hear you. I kept hearing the noise from somebody else.
Okay. Okay, Pak Sofian asked about your presentation. Should guidance and monitoring should not interfere with the students' creativity. Can be done in several ways to individual students or to groups. The second one is how to make sure about skill because it's in learning.
How to make sure about what again?
Make sure about skill because it's distance learning.
Okay. One, guidance and monitoring. Sometimes teachers want to guide too much, and the work becomes the teacher's work and not the student's work. So you have to be careful not to overdo it. Let the students do the work, let them make their mistakes, and then you can help them to understand from their mistakes what they need to do. But if you're constantly guiding them, then it becomes your work and not their work. So too much of a good thing. So be careful on the guidance that you're giving your students. Guidance meaning once you give them the task or the project to do, let them do it. But just keep monitoring to make sure that they're on track, on time, and that they're able to do the things they need to do. And if they're having problems, that they can come to you and ask you about how to do things or doing. So don't try to guide too much so that it becomes your work and not their work. That's pretty much what I'm trying to stress here, because I think teachers sometimes can overdo it. And then what's produced is not the students' work, not the students' thoughts, not the students' emotions, but it is what the teacher wanted them to say. So that's what I mean by that. Hafilia, do you have anything else to add on guidance and monitoring? Hafilia?
No?
No?
Hello?
Hi.
Hafilia, your microphone is not.
Yeah, hold on. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, about the monitoring, again, I'm just going to repeat that we have, because Bapak, who's asking this question? Pak Sofyan, is it, or Pak? Who's asking the question? Pak Sofyan, is it?
Pak Sofyan.
Yes. Okay. Because I have used also, Pak Sofyan, I have already used Moodle also, yeah, and also Edmodo, right? I know that even before this pandemic and this pandemic, and then we have to go online. I'm sure that most of you have, because my students also come from other places, not in Jakarta at that time, and they were from most of them from East Java, West Java, okay, and so we need to meet, and so what we did was use an Edmodo account, right? It seems that all of the students had Edmodos already, had been using that because they said that's what they usually use with the teacher. So how do I monitor? Again and again, I give them assignments, right? I give them materials, okay? So I make sure that we have to be very organized. So we have modules, for example, module 1 is about reading, module 2 is about reading and listening and integrated skills, something like that. So I assign them to those modules, and then they have to do some kind of activities, and then they have to submit. Okay, and there, right? And the next time we go online, we don't necessarily have to do a face-to-face online. A face-to-face one, right? Because with Edmodo, I can't do a face-to-face. So what I did was just have a focus group discussion. Please remember that when we interact, it can also be a focus group discussion. It doesn't have to be face-to-face, right? So I did, and that is, of course, like today, it is scheduled. They're given a schedule already, like 1 month ahead, right? Meaning, okay, starting next week, we're going to do this on these days, on this time. So they are ready by that time. They all get online, right? And we do a focus group discussion based on, of course, based on the assignments that I have given them, based on the materials that they have studied, and that's the question and answer. So monitoring, that's how you monitor. Okay, you've got to do things with them. Just like in the real classroom, you check their homework. But this one is you're doing it online. That's it. But you have to do that. You have to monitor in that case. All right, I think that's just an addition from me. Thank you.
I think the important point that Ibu Hafilia made was that there needs to be a very clear schedule of how and when things are done, so people know expectations, when to meet their expectations, and how to do things. So scheduling is even more important in online than it is in the actual classroom. It was a good question. Oh, and what was the second part of that question? Now I just forgot it. You remember it, Deanie?
The second part, was it engaging?
It says here about how to make sure learning.
I'm not quite sure I
How to
understand.
make sure about skills, because it's
Well, you know, the skills, you can have them do things to demonstrate the skill, to demonstrate speaking, to demonstrate listening.
okay. Perhaps it's about okay. So we will have two more questions since it
Okay.
is almost 1 a.m. in Padang place. So I think if you are ready, Ibu Musana, silakan.
Okay, hello. Good morning.
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 Okay, thank you for the time. Actually, this situation was happening recently, and my question is, many students have bad internet connection. How do we, as a teacher, assign them to always being active in engaging our class in any effective media? Thank you.
That's a really good question. And technology is great when it works, and when it doesn't work, it's very frustrating. And just as we're having trouble today with some people being able to connect to ask questions, you move on, you try to ask, but they have the option. They can try to get the question verbally, as you just did, or we give them the question and answer chart where they could write the question. So whatever you're doing, you need to keep in mind what are my options, and always thinking about the bandwidth and the internet connections of your students. So as much as you can give them ahead of time, for them to download, for them to look at, for them to read, and to look at as many times as they can or want to, whatever. And then you can talk about it in class, work with it in class, but they've already got the heavy part already done. So give them things they can download and look at while you're talking and working with them. Give them videos that they can watch beforehand, kind of a flipped classroom style, you know, videos that they can watch ahead of time, and then you can discuss. They could ask questions about it, and they're with you. So different ways of doing it, but you need to give them enough information ahead of time in class so they can download it and have it ready, or so they can watch it or look at it online and read it online ahead of time, and then they can be with you during the class. And if you're doing something like using this format or Google Classroom or whatever, you can always record it and then give them the access to the recording. So then they can watch it again and again and get the information as well that way. So you have to give them, prepare options, think about different options as you prepare your lesson. I hope that helps. Ibu Hafilia?
With internet connection, I think yes, just give them materials that they can download, that they do not need to access every time, right? So if you want to give them a video, give them the MP4. You want to give them a song, give them the MP3 so that they can download it right away. Okay, so that they don't need to access every time they need to what is that? Every time they need to review it. That's what I think, Pak Damon, and I agree with that. That's number one.
Okay, well, thank you for a good
Welcome
suggestion.
to
Thank you, Mrs. Hafilia and Mr. Jangan.
Thank you.
Stay healthy. Thank you.
you
Thank you.
to
Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right. We actually have two more participants who raised hands. We have Bapak Alfred Bobby and Ibu Sofia Suwartiani. Perhaps Bapak Alfred can go on first, and then after that we will close it with Ibu Sofia Suwartiani. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
morning.
Yeah, yeah, I'm Alfred Bobby. I just want to ask a question to Mr. Diamond. Yeah, among the four of the language skills, which skill is urged to teach to the students who have unstable internet connection at their village? Because at the moment, I'm not in Indonesia. I am abroad. I am teaching bahasa Indonesia in Uzbekistan, and I am one of the public government teacher at SMA Negeri 3 Kupang in Indonesia. But now, at the moment, I was assigned to teach bahasa Indonesia in Uzbekistan, and of course, at the moment, we are doing the distance learning, and the majority of my students at the moment are going back to their village, and they have very unstable internet connection. So among the four skills, which skill is urged to teach them, Mr. Damon? Thank you.
Well, I think most people would find reading and writing the easiest two skills to teach because you can send documents back and forth. You can give them things to do and get questions. And speaking and listening, some people would say might be more difficult, but it doesn't have to be because
Yeah.
you can videotape yourself your lesson ahead of time and send it to them. They can download it, and then whether they have to go to an internet cafe to download it or wherever they can get the internet connection to download it, and then they can watch it as many times as they want. And then when they do connect with you, they're not struggling so much to learn the information as they are struggling to be able to ask questions and get answers from you in that sense. But listening and speaking, you can do, and then you can have them record MP3 files to send to you of them giving answers orally, doing role plays with each other, doing different things. So in terms of speaking and listening with bad bandwidth, you may find that you're doing more via recording than you are in live meetings. But that doesn't mean that you aren't getting real good access to their ability to speak and their ability to listen, that you're still able to do it. It's just that not so much is done this way because of the bandwidth problem, but you find more interesting ways to do it. And it can be done, but it takes a little bit more effort, a little bit more energy, but in the end, you still are able to work with them on listening and speaking, reading and writing, all four skills, and integrating all four skills. So you just need to be a little bit more creative and develop your expectations differently when you're having to do it more via recorded as opposed to actual live sorts of thing. I've been to Uzbekistan. Wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful country. Yeah. So bravo to you. My hat's off to you for doing that. Congratulations. So,
Thank you, Mr.
do
Diamond.
you have anything else to add? No. Okay. So I hope that was
Thank you,
helpful
Mr.
to you.
Raymond.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you, Mr. Raymond. Thank you, Ibu Hafilia and Ibu Dini.
Okay, thank you, Pak. Now the last question is from Ibu Sufia Wardiani. Silakan,
Halo.
Ibu. Yes,
Halo everyone.
Hi, Ibu.
Hi Pak Demen, Bu Hafil, Bu Dini, thank you for the time. I have a problem with my students. I got some weak students. Actually, most of my students are weak in speaking English, so it makes them a bit shy and discouraged when I have to make a video call with them. So I actually put them in group, but then there's like in one group, mostly there will be one student. So what should I do with those weak and the dominant student, especially in the video call? Thank you. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Well, that probably happens in your classroom as well as online, I'm sure. That happens in all classrooms. There are always the dominant students and the others who would rather sit there and just watch and not have to participate. And so what do you do in a normal classroom to get others? You call on them. So you can call on students. You can give them different tasks to do where they have to share the information. In other words, student A has one part to do, student B has another part to do, student C has another part to do. And if C doesn't talk, A and B can't do their part well. And if A doesn't talk, B and C can't do their part well. So you divide up the thing. You don't just ask a simple question, but you ask things in which maybe they each have different parts of the information. So you might give them different parts of the story, and and then you can ask questions. So A doesn't have the information for the question, C does. So C has to answer the question. And then A and B, if they don't understand that, can ask C more information in order to get more information, so that they're completing more of their story. So there's different ways to do this to draw students out and to get them to be able to do it. So they don't all have access to all the same information. So ask them that only they might know. So they have to participate in order to help the others to be able as well. I hope that's a good idea that will help you. Hafilia, do you have an idea as well?
Well, what I do with my student is, Ibu Sofia, right? So what I do with my student is actually, I do point out, I have like 10 on the screen sometimes, and then 3 are talking all the time, right? Not talking, but they are answering me. So I know that 1 or 2 particular students who are very quiet in the class, they also tend to be very quiet when they are online. So what I do is just ask them. That's what Pak Damon said. So I just, okay, Albert, you have any? Please answer me. I need your answer. And you would be surprised that the others do stop talking. Okay, they're listening. They wait for their friends, their peers to answer. You can always, of course, if somebody. The good thing about being online is you can mute somebody when they talk. Right? You can mute them when they talk, blah 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 blah, and then wait. So you can make this excuse actually, like, wait, Wati, I can't hear what the other is saying. So then you mute Wati because Wati, actually you're muting her because she's like talking too much, right? You get the idea? The good thing about about this is, or just take turn. Just exactly what we're doing now, right? I think Dini is moderating. The moderator is like, okay, we mute everybody else. Now, Ibu, unmute you. And you start talking, right? So that's another way, technically. That's what you can do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu. Thank you, Pak Damon. So I think that would be the last question for today's session. Thank you, everyone, for spending your time with us today. with Padiman and Ibu Hafilia, especially Padiman because it's almost 1 a.m. in the morning at Padiman's
Good
place.
morning.
Good morning. So I would like to thank everyone, both panelists and participants who are staying till the end of the webinar. I think that would be all from ITC. If Dadan or the host want to take it, it will get back to you. Thank you. Ibu Hafilia or Padiman, you want to say something?
Dini,
Yeah.
no, I'm just going to, because there are so many questions still coming in, right? And I do want, or we do want to answer, but then because of time and because of technicalities, right? Now, so are we able to record all the questions? You have you have all the questions?
Well, I think I need to check with Padiman if we can collect all the questions.
Yeah. So
Because I
please,
did it.
to collect all these questions. Yeah. Okay. So I think we need to collect all these questions, and we need because I would like to answer some of them, and I'm sure Pak Damon, when he sees the question, he will also be very eager to answer them. Okay. And we will be get it through them. Yeah. Okay. So that's just all from me. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, and I just want to say thank you all very much. And as I said before, I applaud you all. You are the unsung heroes. And thank you all for staying with us. And thank you for allowing me into your homes, if that's where you are or wherever you happen to be. But thank you for inviting me and letting me be with you today. Thank you. Thank you, Dini, for this. Ibu
Okay.
Hafilia.
Bye
Thank you.
all. Thanks. Bye
Thank you.
all.
Bye.
Bye.
Aplikasinya ada cocok. Ini menarik yang kayak ini. Pesannya ada ditunggu di sana. Enggak, Bu. Sudah tidak. Aplikasinya tak cocok. Iya,